Dragon Ball. From recording episodes off of Toonami to watching the last episode of Daima and everything in between, there has been no franchise in which I have sunk more time into than the Dragon Ball franchise. Enough so that when I calculate the number of hours I spent watching Dragon Ball material, I get thoroughly depressed. But all those hours of expertise have made me prepared for today's list, which is ranking all the Dragon Ball movies. Now let's get out of the way the ones that I'm not including on this list. I'm not counting any of the live-action Dragon Ball material. They are all awful. Likewise, I'm not counting any fan projects. I'm not counting any compilation of cutscenes from video games. Goku does a couple of PSAs. He does one on traffic safety, and he does another on fire safety. These are enjoyable in their own way, but they don't count as a movie, so they won't be on the list. Gather Goku's World is not a video game necessarily, but a TV game, where kids would call in and answer various trivia questions to get Goku through time travel trouble and help defeat Cell. I'm gonna call shenanigans on this one real quick. In this, Goku knows that it was Master Roshi that disguised himself as Jackie Chun to defeat him in the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, whereas real Goku has not found that out yet. To this day, in fact, when he was assembling for the Tournament of Power, I'm surprised he didn't go up to Roshi and say, "Roshi, do you know where Jackie Chun is? We could use him for our team."
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Alright, now with those exceptions out of the way, let's go into the actual list. 27. Episode of Bardock. You could argue that I shouldn't even count this one on the list. After all, it is a bonus feature on Dragon Ball Z for Connect of all things, possibly the worst Dragon Ball video game, but it has a narrative structure with a beginning, middle, and end, so for purposes of this list, it does count, and it is the worst. In this one, Goku's dad Bardock, instead of being killed by Frieza when he was exploded to death, he somehow traveled back in time to the planet before it was named Planet Vegeta, and he becomes the first Super Saiyan, and because of this begins the prophecy of the Super Saiyan in some sort of time paradox loop that, this is such a dumb idea for a movie. It opens up so many plot holes, and has rightfully been ignored in Dragon Ball continuity. 26. Dragon Ball GT, A Hero's Legacy. Going from the beginning of the Dragon Ball timeline to the end of the Dragon Ball timeline. This one follows the adventures of Goku Jr., Pan's grandson. Why isn't he with his parents? Did they say why?
Did they say why? Did they say?
No, they didn't. And Pan really wants Goku Jr. to be just like her grandfather. Not like her father, but just like her grandfather, because he's got the hair. And other than having that hair, he is nothing like Goku. But she keeps pushing this idea that, no, I want you to be like him. I want you to be a fighter and this and that. And it's like, the kid has other interests going on. Don't force this on him. And then when she gets an illness, he's like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the 4-star Dragon Ball and I can wish her back to health. Kid clearly doesn't know how the Dragon Balls work. And so we as the audience know that what he's doing isn't going to help at all. But okay, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And so how does he progress on the journey? The kid goes Super Saiyan because of a bear. Goku Jr., who couldn't catch a baseball with, became a Super Saiyan from a bear. It's not one of those talking bears, just a normal bear.
Just fair.
There's a common factor between these two bottom picks. Both of them have unearned Super Saiyan transformations. Oh, and to add to the idea that nothing is gained in this, when he wakes up, he doesn't remember going Super Saiyan. He doesn't even remember doing the fight. Let's hope that this isn't anybody's legacy. 25. Plan to eradicate the Saiyans, or the Super Saiyans.
I'm a little confused.
And I'm kind of cheating with this one, but it was enough of a story for Team 4-Star to make an abridged episode of it, so I'm counting it on this list. This one becomes apparent from the story structure that it was nothing more than a compilation of video game cutscenes. Just an excuse to get fights with some old characters and some new characters. The fights themselves aren't all that impressive, the animation in both versions is nothing all that good, and the conclusion boils down to basically a quick time event to defeat the enemy. There's some potential in the story, but it's clear what this was. It's hard to be all that mad at it. That being said, it's not all that good. 24. History of Bardock. Now this may be where my list differs from most people, because I know a lot of people that really like this special, and I can see why. There are some good elements in the story. If the story focused on Frieza's alliance with the Saiyans, and Bardock finding out Frieza's ulterior motives, there could have been an interesting story here, but they fall for the biggest prequel problem, and that's involving some prophecies. Why did they give Bardock psychic powers? If you could take the whole psychic element out of the story, it would all be vastly improved. Goku doesn't need to be a prophecy. He doesn't need to be the chosen one. When Goku's fighting Frieza, and Frieza says, oh, I killed your father and blew up your whole planet, Goku replies,
I don't care.
And neither do I. I do not care about Bardock.
I don't care.
23. Broly's Second Coming. Broly somehow survived the encounter in the last movie and crashes to Earth. I guess if he is able to survive planet Vegeta blowing up as a baby, getting exploded by a Goku punch, and being on the planet as it gets destroyed is just a minor inconvenience. Trunks and Goten agree to help out this town that's being tormented by the monster. Is the monster Broly? No, we haven't gotten to him yet. They agree to help out because Trunks really likes the necklace that the guy is wearing. At first I thought it was because the necklace looked like a Dragon Ball, but apparently that never crossed anyone's mind. This movie raises other questions. Why didn't the dragon come out when the balls were gathered together? Why wasn't a wish granted? Was a wish granted? Has Goku been able to be here the whole time? Why is Krillin dressed up like Piccolo? Where is Piccolo? Where is Vegeta? Heck, where's Tien? Where is anyone that would make this story more interesting? What happened here? This isn't Inception. This shouldn't be one of those up for interpretation type movies. And it is a power scaler's worst nightmare. Broly, who was able to take on several Super Saiyans, is having trouble with Videl. Better luck next time, Broly. 22. Bio Broly. Ignore the fact that this movie is named Bio Broly. Ignore the fact that the scientists may say that he is Broly. Even ignore the fact that there's one of the same guys from Broly's Second Coming in this film. Ignore all that. He doesn't look, act, or talk like Broly. Take out the Broly connection. If you just pretend that this is some sort of bioengineered goop monster, the movie has some fun character stuff with 18 and Mr. Satan. And 18 with Goten and Trunks is a great combo. But the way the movie concludes is a bit anticlimactic. Does Trunks know a Kamehameha wave? I'll give credit that's not one of those Spirit Bomb Goku Punch finales, but having it just be water? Just normal seawater. They're making this monster on an ocean base. I think if the heroes would have just sat this one out, the problem would have taken care of itself. And I will say it has my favorite out of context Dragon Ball line.
How did you figure it out?
From our pal Satan.
Not great, but with the right engineering, there's good times to be had. 21. Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. Alright, first off, with the name Broly, Legendary Super Saiyan, the whole mystery to try to build up to the villain is pretty stupid. I'm positive nobody watching the movie is scratching their head wondering, gee, who could the Legendary Super Saiyan be? But yet the movie drags out the reveal until the 40-minute mark. Once we get to that point, Vegeta becomes completely useless in the story, and a real out-of-character move for him. Vegeta seems to have a can't win, don't try mentality that has never been seen before or since. He literally has to be carried to the fight. For those wondering why this one is so low, it's because of how Vegeta is handled in the movie. And sadly, Broly is not an interesting character. He's big and strong and is a cool concept, but his motivation and backstory make no sense. And once he starts fighting, he is the very definition of a one-note character. And it's one of those endings where the solution is give your power to Goku and have him one-punch the bad guy. Not quite legendary, but Broly's best was still yet to come. 20. Dragon Ball, The Return of Son Goku and Friends. The key to Dragon Ball's success isn't the over-the-top fight sequences or ki blast or insane power levels. At the core, what made the series so beloved for generations are the characters. And here is a movie with all of our favorite heroes and anti-heroes just hanging out and having a good time. Just having these characters living their life can lead to some fun storytelling possibilities. The whole world doesn't have to be at stake.
Maybe the whole world. The whole world? Alright, maybe not.
Of course, a villain to fight does pop up eventually. Is a pair of villains so weak compared to our heroes that the fighters draw lots to see who will get to fight them. And oddly enough, once the fight begins, the story does lose some of its initial charm. The new characters this movie introduced aren't all that interesting, and they take away time that could be spent on the characters we came to see. If you're a big fan of these characters and are excited about the prospect of Goku and Vegeta arguing about who gets the last bit of sushi, then this is the film for you. If that sounds boring, then you can go ahead and skip this one. 19. Cooler's Revenge. The confusing title that makes it sound like it's the second one, but no, it is the first one with Cooler. There's a lot of good going for this movie. Piccolo gets to have some interesting action scenes, utilizing his stretchy arms. Injuring Goku so early in the movie makes it so the rest of the crew has to rely on stealth mode to make it through a good stretch of the runtime. Why didn't Gohan use the flying Nimbus instead of Icarus to fly him to Korin's tower? It was Icarus' power level that they found on their scouters and gave away the position, so why didn't Gohan just use the flying Nimbus? Was it just an unwritten rule that Icarus had to appear in this era of Dragon Ball movies?
Really glad to see you two.
And me?
Yes, you too, Dragon.
Or was Gohan not pure of heart enough to ride the Nimbus? Think about it, Cooler's second form, where he looks a lot like Super Shredder, is also pretty cool. But the villain's motivation is lazy, the characterization is dull, and the conclusion of the movie is pretty anticlimactic. Super Saiyan transformation, and then throw him to the sun. 18. Dragon Ball Path to Power. We have the original anime telling the story of Bulma meeting Goku.
I don't know your name. My name is Zero.
Then we had Curse of the Blood Rubies, that tells us the story of how Bulma met Goku.
That thing has given me a bad headache. But it's not real bullets, they were just meant to stay.
Then 10 years later, we had the movie Path to Power. What is the point of rehashing the same story yet again? This Dragon Ball movie has the gift of hindsight, in that they made this movie after the whole run of Dragon Ball Z movies and shows had completed its run. Watching it, there's a distinct Z feel that penetrates through different parts. Goku screams and powers up like it's Dragon Ball Z, despite that not being a major part of the original Dragon Ball. They don't use this hindsight to add Dr. Gero in the timeline. That's fine, I guess. The animation style is very GT, and I don't like Bulma's hair color. I prefer it blue.
You gotta have blue hair.
They don't get the characterization of Goku right in this. I'm aware that Goku is a happy-go-lucky kid in the original Dragon Ball, but in this one he laughs almost constantly. It gets really annoying. It's a shame they didn't pick up where they left off on the previous Dragon Ball movie timeline. They'd recap the events of the Pilaf saga twice, but never recap the King Piccolo saga. There isn't anything retold in this story that I don't prefer in either Curse of the Blood Rubies, or more importantly, just the series proper. I still recommend watching the original instead of this truncated version. There are no shortcuts on the path to power.
My name is Zero, King of the Deep.
17. The Return of Cooler. Cooler can't help but get compared to his more successful series brother. He isn't helping matters by doing just the same stuff Frieza has already done. The explanation of how Cooler survived the events of the previous movie makes no sense. And the explanation for the ending of the movie makes even less sense. It is strange to think that it takes 6 movies into Dragon Ball Z franchise before Vegeta finally shows up. Goku and Vegeta having to work together to fight off Cooler is the big selling point of the movie. Sadly, the other characters don't have much to do outside fight faceless drones and maybe get captured. Having so many identical drones and so many identical Coolers can't help but make the movie feel a bit repetitive.
Don't worry. Goku says he will save the planet.
16. Dragon Ball, Sleeping Princess and Devil's Castle. The movie centers around some good parts of the original story. Everybody loves Krillin. He makes a good counterpart to Goku. It is nice when Goku still had a weakness that could be exploited by the villains. It helps make each action scene a bit more intense. On the narrative side, there are 2 main plots that go on in the story. Goku and Krillin's, and then Bulma, Yamcha, and the gang. These 2 stories intertwine, but feels like 2 elements were forced together unnaturally. I'm glad to have Bulma and all of them there. Truly, the conflict doesn't begin until they're there, but it feels tacked on. The villain, Count Lucifer, isn't all that intriguing, just a vampire with sunglasses, and goes out like a fool.
Pathetic.
What's frustrating is that too much of the time is spent with our heroes just wandering around as opposed to making any real progress in the story. By no means the worst ever, but just not very effective at capturing the magic of the original Dragon Ball. 15. Dead Zone. Being the first Dragon Ball Z movie, and first one that I ever saw, this one holds a nostalgic place in my heart. I like seeing the power pole used so often, and a greater focus on martial arts related fights, as opposed to strictly beam struggles and ki blast fights. The movie was so popular they tried to make it canon to the series by including the Garlic Jr. saga, and sadly when I think about this movie, after the warm fuzzies of nostalgia wear off, I can't help but think of all the massive plot holes it has. If you're going to make a wish on the dragon, why are you trying to kill Piccolo at the very beginning? Why does Tommy think that Piccolo died, let alone that Goku was the one that killed him?
Piccolo was killed. That was Son Goku? No, he must not do such thing.
If you're just trying to gather the Dragon Balls, why would you also kidnap Gohan? Just take the hat or take the Dragon Ball. Why does the apple make Gohan drunk? I don't know. What do they have against apples?
They're crunchy, they're sweet, they're delicious.
If you successfully wished for immortality, why would you bring the only thing that could defeat you into the battle? Maybe these aren't as much plot holes as they are just people being really stupid.
Stupid, stupid, stupid!
14. Lord Slug. On the positive side, where most Dragon Ball Z movies rehash a Dragon Ball Z storyline, this one is just a rehash of a Dragon Ball storyline. Lord Slug makes the same wish that King Piccolo did, but Slug is not as interesting or charismatic as a villain as King Piccolo was. He doesn't take over the world and announce it to be Lord Slug Day. Other than that, a lot of the other positives are just beats that happen in a lot of Dragon Ball Z movies. Piccolo and Goku teaming up, a spirit bomb, Gohan and other Z fighters helping at first but then becoming useless towards the end. I do enjoy Namekian villain. I do like the whistling and antennae being a weakness and exploiting that, but in the end what ends up defeating him is the same thing that defeats 90% of these Dragon Ball villains. Some sort of pseudo Super Saiyan transformation, people giving Goku power, and Goku doing a spirit bomb. This one's unique because it does all three, so it ends up feeling pretty bland compared to all the rest. 13. Super Android 13. What Super Android 13 does best is how it utilizes all its best characters at a time where they were all close to the same power level. We have Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks all at Super Saiyan, and Piccolo post-fusing with Kami. Sure, we are missing Tien, but we still have Gohan and Krillin.
Is that okay?
This does raise the question of how is it that Dr. Giro's androids seem to be getting weaker with every successive number? The settings of the busy town and the ice glacier help make this one stand out from the other Dragon Ball Z movies. Problem is the villains here are not nearly as memorable as any of the androids in the series proper. Why did the Saiyans wait so long to go Super Saiyan? I guess they just wanted it to be a better fight, but as soon as they go Super, the fight is basically over, and the way the finale goes is pretty anticlimactic. Once again, we have an ending where it's about giving the power to Goku and having him do a spirit bomb, but at least this time there's some twist. Goku inhales the spirit bomb and does a spirit bomb punch. In the end, it's not bad, but it feels very robotic, like it's just a movie Frankenstein together from other Dragon Ball movies. Maybe it was made by Dr. Giro himself. 12. Dragon Ball, Curse of the Blood Rubies.
What are Blood Rubies?
This is Dragon Ball's first movie. The movie is a retelling of the beginning of Dragon Ball. This time replaces the villain Pilaf with a new character, a king cursed with an insatiable hunger. He wants to use the Dragon Balls to wish the hunger away, which is an interesting motivation for the villain. Arguably, his wish is more noble than our heroes.
Oh, and just when I was about to ask for a boyfriend.
The main downside to this movie is just how much it repeats from the series. It adds very little to make it stand on its own. It is just interesting to see a different telling of the story, almost as if it's setting up an alternate universe of Dragon Ball. Maybe these are the events that happen in Universe 6, after Beerus wishes Earth back to their universe. On its own, the movie is fun and charming, just like the original series. If you've seen the series, there isn't much of a point of watching it at all, but if like the king, you find yourself with an insatiable hunger for Dragon Ball, this will hold you over. 11. Tree of Might. This was one of the first Dragon Ball movies I ever saw. It was one of the 3 that Toonami aired, and several of its animated bits made it to their Rock the Dragon intro. There's some potential in the premise, and the villain, although it's not all that clever, it makes for an excellent example of what Goku might have been if he hadn't hit his head as a baby.
It was really good that Goku had hit his head when he was a baby.
It's a shame the movie is so middling in execution. Turles is just a far less interesting Vegeta. Turles has these henchmen that would have been excellent fodder for the Z fighters to take out, but in the end it's Goku has to do it all himself. The movie spends way too much time focusing on Gohan and Icarus. We have yet another one where the solution is throw a spirit bomb at it. I give credit that at least the spirit bomb didn't work the first time, but then they just picked it up and used it again and it worked the second time. The tree may not be mighty, but it's fine. But it's fine. 10. BoJack Unbound. The beginning of the movie is quite promising. The Z fighters are all participating in some sort of martial arts tournament. It is neat to see fights that we typically wouldn't get to see. We even have a time for Krillin to shine. Sadly, similar to the Buu saga, this tournament gets interrupted for a different, less interesting story. Just let them do a tournament. This comes down to the villain and villain team being as dull as dirt. They have interesting designs, some unique powers, and a confusing backstory, but beyond that, I can't tell you a thing about them. I think Goku describes BoJack the best.
You mean he's like the evil bad guy?
The fighting arena is different. It is refreshing to have a DBZ movie where Goku does not take center stage. This is Gohan's movie, and in theory could have been the torch-passing movie that fans wanted. If only BoJack would have just stayed bound. Maybe then we could have seen the tournament play out. 9. Dragon Ball Super Superhero. First off, the animation. It feels like it'd be well suited for a video game as opposed to a feature-length movie. Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 are some great new characters. Gamma 2 gives me some serious Dewey energy. Speaking of new villains, how can I not like the villain in this one? He's voiced by Wario.
Fire! I'm a Wario. I'm gonna win.
I like the fact that the movie gives some time to shine to the other characters, that it's not just Goku and Vegeta. Every character that showed up to fight Cell Max played a role in his defeat. Even the failed Gotenks fusion, a joke that has been run into the ground at this point, he still managed to get hidden on Cell Max. Finally, we got ourselves the Piccolo movie. Piccolo continues to be the best dad of the series. No kid gets kidnapped while Piccolo's around.
Let that child alone.
Piccolo's power-up felt long-awaited and well-deserved. Gohan's power-up, however, felt a bit rushed. As excited as I am to have 4 characters of close to the same power level, the journey is important to get there. And when Gohan did the special beam cannon there, that was pure cinema right there. 8. Dragon Ball Mystical Adventure. Mystic Adventure is a great example of how to do a creative retelling of a Dragon Ball saga. Let's combine Roshi's training, along with the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, along with the Red Ribbon Army saga, all at the same time.
This really shouldn't work, but it does.
Okay, this time, the head of the Red Ribbon Army is Chaozu. Let's have Bora and Yamcha fight in the tournament. And then let's have Mercenary Tao fight in the tournament. While we're at it, let's throw in a subplot of Bulma and Launch trying to gather the Dragon Balls. Let's throw in a Rayleigh. And hey, while we're at it, let's throw in some Korin training.
What's your name, anyway?
I've been called many things. My favorite is Whiskers the Wonder Cat.
Let's just throw all the Dragon Ball stuff at this story. Hearing the description, you can probably understand both the strengths of this story and also its greatest weakness. There is so much going on here. Tien and Chaozu's friendship is always great. It's adorable.
We're very special friends, aren't we?
Yes, Chaozu.
And since Chaozu's backstory is never fully elaborated on, I'm considering this one to be canon. Now he's married to a doll. Heck, in the series, he's referred to as an emperor.
The first wish was used to bring back the young emperor, Chaozu.
This one manages to take a lot of Dragon Ball magic and wrap it into a 48-minute runtime. It certainly is a mystical adventure. 7. Dragon Ball Resurrection F. This is the first Dragon Ball movie I got to see in theaters, and it was a great theater experience. Before the movie, they showed some interviews with the Funimation voice cast answering questions about Dragon Ball lore. It was a ton of fun. I distinctly remember in the theater when Krillin flew off and 18 said, "Oh, he's so cool." There was a great cheer in the audience. This one introduces Jaco to the Dragon Ball franchise proper, and he's one of my favorite new additions to the cast. Frieza has a large army, and our supporting cast of characters is able to fight them off to buy time for Goku and Vegeta to arrive. The fight between the Frieza Force and the Z Warriors,
The Who Warriors?
is the big highlight of the movie for me. I also like the incorporation of Pilaf, Mai, and Shu in the story. What keeps this one from being higher in the list is once Goku and Vegeta show up, there isn't any part of the story where they're on the back foot, where Frieza has the upper hand. There's 2 of them. They even have an edit undo button for when Frieza blows up the planet. And so as cathartic as it is just to see Frieza get beaten up, the fact that our heroes could dispatch him with ease at any given time really lowers the stakes of the situation. Still a great time. I'm glad I watched it. 6. Dragon Ball Super Broly. This is Broly's best movie. And on a side note, it's also Bardock's best movie. This is the movie that finally captures the potential that Broly's character had. It makes more sense for Broly to be angry at Vegeta than it does for him to be angry at Goku. I like the new characters they introduce, Chile and Chile's friend. Okay, I just really like Chile. No reason.
This some kind of kinky thing?
And Frieza, despite not being the main antagonist, is on top form in this. I love the facial animation on Frieza when he's like, "Oh no, Broly, your father's been killed." That's some great Frieza stuff. The story structure is an interesting one. It's like the first 50 minutes is all build-up, backstory, and lore, and then the final 50 minutes is nothing but fighting. The animation in this one is really inconsistent. Sometimes it looks great, and sometimes it looks like they brought out their B-team for it. Now this Broly is one that I wouldn't mind seeing in 3 movies and being incorporated into the series proper. Not like that. That is not Broly. 5. World's Strongest. The movie has the makings of what the series would later use for the Android saga, Dr. Wheelo being the prototype for Dr. Gero. The 2 characters have an obvious similarity.
The brain.
The movie also brings in some original Dragon Ball continuity back in, where Wheelo believes Master Roshi to be the world's strongest because of his win in the World Martial Arts Tournament.
He said I was the strongest in this world.
This not only ties into the series canon, but gives Roshi some much needed time to shine. The villain's plan to take the world's most brilliant mind and put in the world's strongest body is a unique, simple, and instantly understandable goal.
Give me a body!
The creepy scientific ice layer is a great location and helps give the whole thing a spooky vibe. With a creepy setting, unique villain, and motivation, giving other characters some time to shine, a Goku Piccolo fight, some great action using the Kaioken, this remains one of the series' strongest. 4. Wrath of the Dragon. It is nice when the conflict of the movie is a bit more than the simple punch the bad guy. With the conflict of Tapion and Hoi, it adds a layer of mystery to the usual Dragon Ball story. It's obvious which of the two is the bad guy. I mean, it's nice to have some mystery elements. The story this time around gives other characters, particularly Trunks, some well-deserved time to shine. Tapion is a fun new character. Kind of looks like a combination of Ocarina of Time and Chrono Trigger. The relationship between Trunks and Tapion is believable and endearing.
We're very special friends, aren't we?
Herudeon is an interesting villain. He doesn't have much of a personality, but he has a cool design. And with him being a kaiju, it leads to some unique fight sequences between him and our heroes. But then the ending happens. The movie felt like it was Trunks' movie. It was him stepping up. It was him getting his sword. And then along comes Goku. And Goku says, "Oh, you may have been the main character of this movie, but I'm the main character of the show. I'm going to go up and I'm going to punch him." Sadly, it wouldn't be the last time that Trunks would be robbed of a cool finale. 3. History of Trunks. Going from one movie where Trunks was kind of the main character to one where Trunks is definitely the main character. Of all the Dragon Ball movies, this one is definitely the darkest and bleakest. With most of the heroes dead and the Dragon Balls gone, it is just Gohan and Trunks. And Android 17 and 18 make for some great and intimidating villains in this. The goal isn't to try and take over the world, to make a wish on the dragon, or even specifically to kill anyone. They're just going around with unlimited power and doing whatever they want. Sometimes that's going to an amusement park. Other times it's killing people just for the heck of it. And unlike the format of so many of these movies, once Trunks gets his power up and he gets his opportunity to fight, he's not winning this fight. And the scene after he realizes that he's not going to win this, it is some genuinely creepy stuff. 17 and 18 become more like slasher villains. It's a Dragon Ball special that is so good, I have no problem welcoming it into the continuity of the Dragon Ball franchise proper. 2. Fusion Reborn. In this one, Goku and Vegeta are fighting the devil. The way Janemba utilizes his powers to teleport from place to place, to materialize here and materialize there, grow a sword out of nowhere. He looks so cool. Meanwhile, with the gateway between dimensions being open, this gives our other heroes some entertaining things to do while the main story's going on. The movie even came up with something for Python to do. We get to have some rematches with some of the old villains of the series. They spend very little time on Frieza and the other villains, but they spend a lot of time on German Dictator.
You gotta be kidding me, come on.
A little disappointing that even though all the villains get resurrected, Cell doesn't come back. Particularly dangerous because you have Shenron out just asking for people to make wishes, while Cell happened to teleport in and wish himself back to life. It is a shame that once the titular fusion happens, the fight's pretty much over. But the journey getting there was a ton of fun, and one of Dragon Ball's very best movies. 1. Dragon Ball Battle of Gods. My 3 main critiques of the middling Dragon Ball movies have been their lackluster villains, recapping events that are done better in the series, and not utilizing all their characters. Battle of Gods fixes all these problems. First off, Beerus is the best antagonist since Cell. He's such a likable, lazy jerk, but at the same time still has a deep connection with Dragon Ball continuity. And to top it off, he's an anime fan.
26 minutes.
So about the length of your average anime episode.
The introduction to a God of Destruction and his angel assistant helped open up the Dragon Ball franchise in the same way Raditz did for Dragon Ball Z. And the story of this one is not just a reskin of a story that was already done in the series. It's something wholly original. This one brings back old characters and gives them something new to do, like Pilaf, Mai, and Shu. The romance between Trunks and Mai is so dumb, but so funny.
You're older than you said you were.
Meanwhile, it still utilizes so many of its characters in plot-relevant ways. Characters like Oolong, Yamcha, and even Pan plays important roles in the movie. The way Vegeta has to keep Beerus happy because he knows how dangerous Beerus is leads to some of the funniest jokes of the series. And it demonstrates character growth for Vegeta that he is considered pure-hearted enough to participate in the ritual of the Super Saiyan God. And the moment that leads him to first fight Beerus is one of Vegeta's top 5 best moments of the whole series. When the movie wants to be funny, it is really funny. From Piccolo, Vegeta, Beerus, and Boo has some of the series' funniest parts in it. And then when it comes to the fight, it is a really good fight. It was the movie that brought Dragon Ball back in such a big way. It opened up the possibilities to a world that we wanted to explore even more. And that's why Dragon Ball Battle of Gods is my favorite of all the Dragon Ball movies. Now I'm curious, what are your favorite Dragon Ball movies? Was there any that I was too harsh on? Was there any that I liked way too much? And on the other hand, were there any spot-on ones that you completely agree with? I'm curious and genuinely want to know. Let me know in the comments below.